Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about the difference between a low-carb diet and a keto diet. But before we continue, if you're interested in subjects like this, nutrition, wellness coaching, go ahead and click on the subscribe button and on the notification button so that you can know every time there's a new video about wellness and coaching. So let's start. What's the difference between low-carb and keto? Well, basically, in a nutshell, the major difference is the amount of carbs you're allowed to eat in a day. So, carb intake for a low-carb diet would be a total carbs of between 50 and 150 carbohydrates, whereas a keto diet would be up to 50 total carbohydrates in a day. So, why would you do one versus the other? Well, obviously, if you're allowed more carbs, then a low-carb lifestyle instead of a keto lifestyle is going to be more flexible and adaptable. Socially, it's going to be closer to the way you're used to eating, and you're going to be allowed a bigger variety of foods. So why would you do keto then? Well, you might choose keto because perhaps you have a metabolic disorder. Perhaps you already have diabetes 1 or 2, or perhaps you have cholesterol and heart issues, or you really need to lose weight fast, and so you need to drop your carb count more drastically in order to see more rapid results. You might also just enjoy the keto foods. If you're eating more keto, you might have a tendency to eat higher fat than if you're doing more of a low carb lifestyle. Your fats might be more moderated. So this is some of the reasons why you might choose one over the other. But let's look into this a little bit more. A low carb keto lifestyle might be easier for you to maintain in the long term because it's closer to the way most people are eating. If you go out to eat, if you go to a friend's house and they serve you, the typical meat and carb and veggie, you might get away with being able to eat it exactly as they served it to you, just cutting half of the, grain portion that they served you and only eating half of it without them really noticing, things of that nature. The other thing that's nice about low carb is there are no foods that are really off the table. It's really based on you and your carb count, what you're willing to sacrifice or what is worth it to you. So you can eat more fruit types and larger quantities. If you have a need for more fiber in your diet besides the fiber just from green vegetables, perhaps you have a tendency towards constipation or even towards IBS, and so you prefer a more fiber-rich diet. You're going to have more room for things like chia seeds and flax seeds, more room for nuts, more room for things like beans. You could eat more of a Greek yogurt. You have room for small amounts of even whole or low-fat milk if you really wanted. Of course, in moderation, to keep within your carb counts. Also, let's say that you have a tendency to eat more vegetarian, or you don't digest well when you eat a lot of fat, or if you eat a lot of meat, you don't really enjoy it. Again, the lower carb lifestyle might be easier than the keto because you have more room for carbs. You can do more of these vegetarian protein replacements. You could do more soy, like more beans, like I said earlier, more nut butters, and things of that nature that, though they're high in protein, tend to be higher in carbs than straight meat or animal proteins. Another thing that you might want to take into consideration is why would you want to do a low carb or keto diet, any kind of low carb diet to start? What are the benefits of low carb diets in general? Well, a lot of people find that low carb or ketogenic diets aid in weight loss significantly. In terms of the scientific evidence, there are people in both camps, and basically the two camps are the low-fat diet and the low-carb diet. And let's just say that both of them prove effective for weight loss in studies. But many of the meta-analyses show that in the shorter run, low-carb diets do tend to provide a greater amount of weight loss. Another thing to keep into mind is cholesterol. Some people do achieve reduced bad cholesterol levels when doing a low-carb diet because their weight goes down. But some people can have a tendency towards higher cholesterol with a lower carb diet if they tend to eat too much fat, which can sometimes happen to people who are following keto, particularly if you're following just the general YouTube videos, or you're kind of learning on your own as you go and you're not using a professional to help guide you through the keto process. You might err towards eating too much fats if you are pouring MCT oil in your coffee, or having a double dose of oil and butter in your coffee, and it's not a meal replacement, but it's actually in conjunction with several meals a day. If you're using too much cooking oils when you're cooking, if you're eating too much heavy cream or cheeses, or eating tons of almond flour because you're making keto versions of cookies or low carb versions of cookies. So really just being aware of that note. So another reason that somebody might want to do like a keto diet, for instance, is if they have diabetes 1 or 2, a keto diet is known to significantly reduce blood sugars. And the way you can know how your diet is influencing your blood sugars is by getting a blood sugar monitor and monitoring your blood sugar at about an hour after you eat. Now, some people are willing to test several times at a half an hour, an hour and a half, or even 2 hours. Not sure that you want to prick yourself that much. So start playing with the times to see when you typically peak, to know how much your blood sugars are jumping. But this is important if you see that you are starting to be thirsty, starting to be hangry, are hungry all the time, have put on a significant amount of weight, perhaps doing other diets like a low-fat diet or a high-carb, low-fat diet, and they didn't work for you. These are reasons that these low-carb or ketogenic diets might work better for you. And again, it's really important to be very much in tune with your own body needs and get a feel for what works for you. If you see that you try to do keto and you're getting indigestion, you feel gross, you're getting constipated, then perhaps you need to modify to more of a low carb, perhaps you need to drop your fat intake, or perhaps you're not eating enough protein. So that's why it's really important to really study the diet before you do it, play with it, customize it to your body, and also, if necessary, if you see that you are having significant symptoms, then you definitely should see a medical professional, get your blood tested, get your A1C levels tested, and just make sure that you don't have any, dietary diseases going on that you need to be aware of and need the help of a trained medical professional to help you with. Another reason keto could be used is in people that have epilepsy or seizures. That's how the diet was originally invented, was for children that had seizure disorders. They were doing more of a high-fat version of keto, which significantly reduced and even cured epilepsy in many children. And so that's actually how the keto diet was originally discovered. Some people who have brain cancer have managed to reduce tumor size. So it's a very powerful therapeutic diet, the keto diet, and not everyone necessarily needs it at the strength of keto, and it might not also match everyone or be healthy for everyone. It also has to match your lifestyle. It has to match your socialization, your happiness levels. So really keep that in mind when choosing which diet you choose, whether it's low carb or keto, or perhaps neither. Perhaps you decide that a low-fat diet works better for you, or a vegan diet works better for you, but really being in tune with how you feel and how your health is to know what to choose. Finally, I want to encourage you to really customize the diet to yourself. So let's say that you love grains and you're not willing to give them up, but you do want to try a low carb. One way is to perhaps give yourself 1 carb meal in a day as opposed to 3, or to reduce carbs by, instead of having, half a cup or a cup of rice in a sitting, eating just a 1/4 cup of rice and increasing your protein. So there's ways to play with this to make it work for you, for traveling, for social situations, etc. So I would love to hear if you have tried a low carb diet, or you're currently doing a low carb or ketogenic diet, what you found works for you, and to share it in the comment sections so that we can all learn from each other. Also, go ahead and share this video if you have a friend or somebody that's debating or wondering what the difference is between the low carb and keto lifestyle. Last of all, don't forget to subscribe. Click on the subscribe or notification bell. And I look forward to seeing you in another video. Many blessings.